Good morning, everyone. My name is Mary Leibowitz, and I'm going to be speaking with you today with my colleague, May Lausen. And we're going to be talking today about social advertising and content strategy, and sharing our knowledge about the disconnect that we've experienced and our approaches. On Twitter, I'm Sparklewitz. I'm also the voice of Falcon Social. Our slides are a little bit light today, but we added the SMWCPH14 hashtag in the center, or on the corner. My background is in marketing. I'm originally from New York. I've been in Denmark for 4 years. I speak both Danish and English, and my work has taken me into roles such as a writer, a translator, a strategist, a marketer, and I'm really interested in social behavior, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I kind of backed up into working with strategy, and I manage all of our social channels at Falcon Social. You got yours.
I got my own mic. Yeah, my name is May. I'm the inbound marketing specialist at Falcon Social. That means that my foremost job is to capture leads to support our outbound activities. I'm in charge of all of our advertising, all of our landing pages, and this means that I am very also into data and analytics, which you will hear more about a bit later in the presentation.
We work at Falcon Social. It's a Copenhagen startup. I apologize, it's a little light. We have a lighting issue today because this is being live streamed. Our company is a social media management platform. It's focused on enterprises. And it was founded in 2010, and we hit a period of hypergrowth in Q3 2013. We're currently at about 108 employees, and we cover over 30 different nationalities, and our company's main language is English. So today I'll be covering the content aspect of our presentation. May is going to be talking about advertising. Towards the end, we're going to circle around to give you a couple of examples of these practices that we like. And then if we have time at the end, we'll open up for comments and questions. In recent years, web marketing and social marketing have drawn on and incorporated a few different disciplines. And these include content strategy, inbound marketing, social advertising, and content marketing. And while everyone's mix and approaches of these different elements can be slightly varied and can overlap, we've all been focused on maintaining authenticity within our marketing. Our approach as a team comes from a combination of self-awareness, consistency, and structure. And with this approach in mind, we're going to be talking to you today about content strategy and advertising. And when I talk about maintaining authenticity, I don't mean feigning authenticity or projecting a false sense of a trustworthy company. I mean doing good work and working together to get your messaging out collaboratively. This is what we'll be talking about today. And I apologize for the slightly off color of our slides. So traditionally, content and advertising have been siloed in their own different business areas. We've got inbound marketing and social advertising, content strategy and content marketing. May and I cover both of these areas, but we work together to get the message out together. Content strategists tend to look at their work by picking up the content, looking at it from different aspects, throwing things against it to test it. And content strategy can be a complicated process. It doesn't mean that it's difficult. It just means that it has a few different areas that people need to work with. When we talk about content strategy, the question always comes up, what's the difference between content strategy and content marketing? I don't know if this is something that kind of comes into the areas where you work, but for me, content strategy is about the structure. It's the framework for your content. It aligns your overview with the business goals, and it gives the content that you create a sustainable life cycle. I tend to have a content strategist's perspective. Other people focus more on the content marketing aspect. Content marketing, as described by Joe Paluzzi, is delivering the content your audience is seeking in all the places that they're searching for it. So for me, content strategy is the structure of your content, and content marketing is the lift. When May and I started working together, we worked together with our writer, Joe, to sort of build out our company's persona. And the things that we focus on when we create our content is a clean aesthetic. Our platform has a very clean aesthetic. We attribute this to our Scandinavian background. We're very proud of being a Copenhagen startup. We also focus on UX and ease of use. So anytime we write content or create advertising, we tend to focus on these areas. Now, when we started working together, we've been very, very lucky in a few different areas. We've been lucky in the fact that because of this period of hypergrowth that we were in, most of our team members are new. So we're starting everything from scratch. All of the content that we've created, or the bulk of the content, has happened within the last 5 months. And our social presence is something that I was hired to work on, but that kind of backed into content strategy. So we're able to look at the whole thing as just from the beginning. Usually when you try to implement content strategy within a company, you can run into a few different challenges of how people work together, who's going to be working with what. It can get a little bit political. So we've been very lucky in that everything has been very, very fresh. And we also have the benefit of being on a new, growing team. So when everybody gets to work, they haven't been there for 30 years. They're excited. They're still motivated. We also have a very flat Scandinavian hierarchy. And I don't know if all of you work within Denmark. As an American coming into Scandinavia, this is something that's great for me, is that it doesn't really matter what people's job title is. You can go in and you can have a conversation with them about anything that you're thinking about, and it works really well. Sorry, May. Okay. So when looking at strategy within a company, I think that there's 5 core areas that people should be focusing on. The first one is self-awareness. You need to ask yourself, as a company or as a brand, who are you? Then client research comes into play. And this can be having a conversation with your current clients. Sometimes you can work together with your customer success areas or customer service departments to sort of tap into the conversations that they've been having with your clients. So you want to know what your clients' target audiences' challenges are, and what type of content do they usually look for. So when they have a challenge, are they looking for white papers? Are they looking for articles? Are they looking for blog posts? And then it also depends on organization, resources, and responsibility. How are you going to structure your content? What resources do you have that are able to work on your content? And who's responsible for it? Who's going to take responsibility for making sure that the content is produced? Who's going to make sure that it's the right content? And who's going to take the responsibility to archive content when it's done?
I guess that was my cue. I'm going to talk a bit about advertising. And when I was preparing this presentation and talking to Mary a lot about content strategy and content marketing, it came to me that advertising is often perceived as something that you just do, because of course you're advertising. Why wouldn't you? But now we see social media, blogging and so on, that's free channels. Why would you even spend money on advertising? And one thing is that as we do, we are penetrating new markets all the time, meaning that we have very low brand awareness where we go into a market. We basically need to advertise to create awareness. We need to advertise to create new audiences, to capture leads, and also strengthen the position that we have, the brand positioning. Then, of course, in our existing markets, we want to increase the consumption of the audiences there. And the big difference, we could do this with pure content, free channels, but the difference is that we won't be able to control who is seeing it and how they're consuming it. And that's a big thing about advertising, is that you pay to get that knowledge, to have that control. You set the audience, you set how they're going to see it and how much they're going to see it. Of course you can't control everything, but you still have the power of much more streamlined, much more detailed targeting than you do with organic channels or earned media. But controls also comes with responsibility. And even though, if I wanted to, I could spam your news feed just by having your emails, and I could bug the crap out of you, to be honest. I'm not going to do that because that's not how I want to represent my brand. But as an advertiser, you have to think about not being that guy in the bar who doesn't get that you don't want to be hit on. And I think a lot of advertisers easily sometimes tend to spam people without knowing it. And basically, there is this very, very, very basic dating rule. There's the people you're interested in. There's the people that are interested in you. You want to find that middle ground where this is a mutual interest. And that's the people you want to target. If you're targeting the people that you're interested in, that are not interested in you, they're probably going to perceive it as spam or annoying or dislike your brand. People that are interested in you doesn't mean that you're interested in them, and you don't have to be interested in them. It's okay. And there's basically a couple of things that you need to think about when doing advertising to try to avoid this. I'm not saying that you can totally avoid this, but you should at least try. And one good place to start is targeting. The thing about social media is that they are capturing a lot of data about us. And the big difference here is that this data is not something that you expressed in a survey, that this is what I like, this is what I care about. This is based on your behavior. This is data being aggregated, basically without you noticing it, about everything that you do. So this is a very powerful way. Targeting by demographics and geographics is something that is very basic in advertising. The big thing here is that you're able to target by interest. And these are interests that is based on what you do and not what you say. On Twitter, you have very broad different interest categories. On Facebook, you are able to choose precise interest in broad categories. You should choose what should be the most precise, in my opinion. Then you are able to do custom audiences on Facebook based on your existing lists, meaning that you can tap into the people who already expressed interest in you and being able to target them in a much more clever way. Lastly, you have lookalikes. If you want to expand your audience, there's a good likelihood that the people that are already expressing interest in you, people like them would also be more inclined to be interested in you, instead of just seeking widely new audiences. This is a good place to start if you're doing social media advertising. You also have on Twitter, where you can choose people who are like the followers of that handle or that profile. And that's very powerful if you want to go into new markets, to go into new segments. Because basically, to begin with, unless you have a couple of years of market research and a ton of money to buy it, you don't know that much. And you have to start off somewhere. And basing it off what is you know already, and the likelihood will increase. Sorry. I brought a couple of examples here from my own news feed on Facebook. These are 2 ads for events. And what I want to talk about here is tying it with your content strategy. How are you speaking to your audience? Are you shouting at them in their news feed where they have their baby pictures and whatever Instagram photos, important status updates? You are basically in their private life. And these posts come up alongside all of this. And this is very 2 different ways of advertising an event. The first one, we have a very, very strong CTA, strong message. We have proof that a lot of other Danish people signed up for this event, so why shouldn't you? The free is capitalized, and you also have the headline of the link saying get a free 2 for 1 code. So why wouldn't you sign up for this event? Secondly, you have this post about an event at a high school, and it's basically just saying that they are inviting for this event someday. Doesn't really say, do you want to show up? Do you want to join us? There is no direct CTA. And the interesting thing about these two is that they're both made as page-like ads, meaning what I think is the goal of these posts is to get me to go to those events, but I'm prompted to like the page, which I guess is not the primary CTA. I also had another couple of examples where everything was capitalized, where you're basically shouting at people using exclamation marks. And I've done those kind of ads as well, just to say, but I think it's important to think about, is this really how you want to address the people that you want to do business with? Do you want to be addressed this way? And I think that's a question that should come up time and time again, every time, even while you are having a campaign running, you should think about this. Second thing to the tone of voice of the ads are what kind of form they're taking. I'm very interested in capturing leads. It's one of my most important tasks. And Facebook and Twitter made it very easy for me. On Twitter, you have lead gen cards. I don't know if you all know them, but these are basically free. It's a link you put in a tweet, and you are able to customize the CTA, what kind of landing page they're going to, and you're capturing their information. On Facebook, you saw the like page button on the previous slide. You can basically say, there is, I think, 6 different options where you can say this CTA button should have been sign up, or book now, get offer, learn more. Like I have here, this is one of the ads that I did this weekend, where you have the learn more, clear CTA, down with the link where I want to redirect them to. I didn't put it up in the body text, kept it only about the content. Then you should, where are you redirecting them to in your ad? Are you redirecting them to just your homepage, front page? Are you redirecting them to your Facebook page? Or should you have dedicated landing page that just matches the message that you're trying to get out there? Sometimes it's a question of time, it's a question of resources, but if you're putting out a message and you want the receiver of this message to take a certain action, you should make it so the easiest you can for them to take that action and answer their questions while you're doing it. And that's why it's important to think about also where do they land. Do you expect people, when they click on an ad to sign up for an event, that they're going to land on a front page and just have to locate themselves into that event sign up page themselves? Or should you go directly there? Then there's another thing, close link to what do you want them to do, is how you're bidding. Are you bidding for conversions? Are you bidding for engagement? Are you bidding for awareness, impressions? This is something that's also important to think about. I see a lot of ads that are made as a generic page-like ad or sponsored post. And in most of these examples, it seems to me that they should rather have chosen conversion bidding, optimizing for clicks to the website, and so on. The good thing about this, if you want to capture leads, is that you're able to redirect them to a landing page, or by Twitter, just having the lead gen card, where you get their contact info. And this is something that is very valuable for retargeting. It's very valuable for lead nurturing. I'm not saying that you should create a list and just abuse them, send you all your newsletters that you have in store. Be smart about it. But this is powerful information. And if you want to grow your audience, you have to do these kind of things and have to be aware of how the ads that you do, how they benefit your business, how they benefit your marketing efforts. And this is one of them, how to do it. So I'm not going to be the judge of which ad is the best one. And I don't think any of us should. Because it's not really about what I think. It's about how the receivers react to it. And there's one way of knowing that. And that is by tracking. So what you want to do is to track the customer journey from where it begins. It could be an ad impression to the final conversion. Some might argue there is no final conversion, but just to make it somewhat manageable. You want to split test. So I might be wrong. It might be the most powerful to do a page-like ad for an event sign-up. But you should split test it and see, okay, how is this ad performing compared to this ad where I put in a sign-up button? Or this ad where I said, join us today, sign up now, and this ad where I didn't. And this is very basic, but it's something that might be perceived as a bit time-consuming. But the thing is that you risk missing out on opportunities, missing out on business opportunities, because you can keep running the same campaigns the same way you always did, but you don't know if they could have performed better, if you could have a lower CPA, or a better quality match between your audience and your desired segments. It's also about understanding where people come from, which channels they come from, how they are converting, what do they go through to get to the point where they are interacting with you. Because this is how you can understand your audience moving forward and being smarter about what you're doing. And that's what we really want, is to be smart about it, not spending as much money or being able to spend it more wisely. And then that's why you also should think about attribution modeling, because it might be that your ads are performing this much. But if it increased the referral traffic from, let's say, Facebook by that much, you should count that in terms of how your ads are performing. Also, the other way around. But it's basically about mapping out the different touch points and understanding and tracking them. For me, this means that I love Google Analytics. I look at conversion paths. I look at the sources, the channels, the conversion channels. I look at the time lag between someone interacting the first time on one of our own channels to they convert. Because I want to understand them better so I can do better targeting. I look at the insights that I'm provided with the affiliate advertisers that I work with. It differs from advertiser to advertiser, different publishers. I use split testing tools that are specifically for split testing, just because it's the best thing to do. Sometimes it's a bit annoying to be able to have to duplicate and copy to internality, so that's why I like to use a professional tool for that. Heat and score maps, that's not something you can do on social media, but you can do it on the landing pages that you redirect them to. And that's what's important to understand. It's not just about the ad. It's not just about, it's where they land as well and how they're interacting with it. Because your ad might be performing really well, having very high click-through rate. But if they're all gonna bounce when they land to your landing page, it's not really any good, huh? And that's why you want to understand how they interact at every touch point, so you don't get mesmerized by the numbers you see in your ad manager, which is very easy to do, but you have to look at each different conversions. Mary's going to talk to you a bit about some examples that we really like.
So I looked at 3 different companies, and for me, because content strategy is so important, it was really important to me how these companies structured their information. And even if you just take a look in their sitemaps, you can see exactly how they structure their information. And with these three companies, the three of them are very, very large, so they have a lot of content to manage. So the first example of a company that we liked was General Electric. They're a conglomerate corporation. They have different divisions for energy, technology, finance, and industrial divisions. And that's a pretty broad range. But what they've come up with is the imagination at work. And what I like about this is they created a video called What My Mom Does at Work. And it's about GE, but it's from a child's perspective, talking about the work that her mother does at GE. And what I thought was so fantastic is this is a fantastic example of storytelling. And it's very imaginative and very creative. And when it's done from this child's perspective, you kind of become absorbed within the story. When they create their social advertising, what they say is GE inspires kids to pursue futures in science. So at no point are they talking directly about you can buy electricity from us. What they're saying is we have a story to tell. It ties back to who we are, but this is something that we think you're going to find interesting. The second one was Cisco, and they're a networking technology. They work with networking. It's pretty dry. But what they've done is they've created this fantastic commercial called Imagination at Work. And the first line of that ad is, what if the next big thing isn't a thing at all? And what they talk about is how they're connected to everything. They're connected to hospitals. They're connected to road sensors. They're connecting to different forms of energy. And what they do is they sort of take their work, which is very, very technical and very, very clinical, and they tie it into this sort of global, wondrous, imaginative perspective. And in their advertising, they say Cisco uses networks to improve lives. Networks help teachers transform education. So they're talking about this from this storytelling sense of marketing that's not interrupting your regular workday. It's giving you something to look at that you're actually going to be very interested in reading. And the last one that I really liked was Colgate-Palmolive. They're a multinational consumer product company. I mostly know them for the toothpaste. What I liked about the way that they structure their information is that they do different areas where they talk about the toothpaste that they make. They talk about the home products that they make. They have their corporate information, and then they also have an area for professionals. So the dentists that they work with can go in and tap into their information and help spread it around within their own networks, which would be their customers, their patients. But what I really liked is that they're talking about something completely ordinary, which is toothpaste. We all use it every day, hopefully. And what they're saying here is that this floss is incredibly important. You've got a man and a woman here, nice-looking couple, and what are we all focused on? The crap stuck in the guy's teeth. If only he had flossed. So what they're saying is, this is the most important thing here. Did anybody notice that this woman has 6 fingers on her left hand? So they're kind of giving you a game to play with in their marketing. They're making you laugh. At no time are they saying, you should brush your teeth every day. No, they're saying, hey, look at how cute they are. That's pretty gross. Hey, you didn't even notice that. See how much that focus takes? What they do with their advertising in social is they created this picture. Dear Santa, after all those cookies, we thought you could use this, and it's a toothbrush. It's pretty ordinary, not incredibly exciting, but it got 11,592 likes on their Facebook page. That's engagement. And then in their advertising, what they have is helps reverse gum problems in 4 weeks. They're not telling you that any toothpaste can do that. They're just saying, in case you have gum problems, this is something that we work with. And as their CTA, they have a button that says, no more. It's not a specific sell, but it's driving you towards something and it's giving you information. So they're engaging with you on information that you actually need. So in closing, what I'd like to say is that May and I sit next to each other at work. I work with writing and social, she works with advertising. The reason why we think that this is so beneficial is because when your content and your advertising are created collaboratively, it's a much better model because sometimes if you're doing it separately, you can create content and you can talk about who you are as a company and you can define your entire persona, but then you can go off and sell something slightly different than what you originally intended to. So I apologize for the lighting and the light font that we had today. We didn't realize that we were being live streamed, so we're sort of competing with the lights here. If we had known, this whole thing would have been in black and white. But I hope you enjoyed our presentation and our beautiful surroundings. We hadn't expected this either, so this is fantastic. And we've written down our contact information. We like to network. If you want to get in touch with us, talk to us about anything social, about anything advertising, please take a photo, get in touch, we'll love to hear from you. And we'll open up for any comments and questions if there are any. Thank you. I'd also like to say that we're participating in the evaluation, which I think Social Media Copenhagen has the information on. There should be a link within their website where you can go in and give us an evaluation or any feedback that you might have. Yes?
Yes, I did. I don't have the specific numbers right now, but yeah, there was a significant increase. Of course, I can't attribute everything to the copy. It's also about market penetration, brand awareness, and so on. But yes, there was a definite change. There was also much higher engagement with the post itself, lesser negative feedback on it, which is kind of important as well. I wouldn't say that we hit the perfect stage, but we're trying to work on it. Some of the stuff I do is more hard sell than others, but we try to align our stuff so it makes sense. And I think the key is to experiment, basically. You shouldn't be experimenting all of the time, because, like with everything, because then you're not really giving a consistent message. But trying to experiment, if you just tweak that, if you kill that exclamation mark, if you didn't capitalize that word, it might work better, it might work worse. Sometimes, for some products, it makes sense to take this offer right now, click that button, if people are ready to buy. And it's all about, where are they in this stage? Have they just learned about you? Do they have a need? Do they know if they have a need? Or have they identified that they are so late that they just want to purchase and you were the first one offering? And this is about trying to get to know your audiences. That's not something you're ever going to know personally on an individual level, but try to look at it at an aggregate level, how they are responding, because then you might understand the things that you do, the things that you tweak, if it's working or not, and how they're responding. Yeah? Any other questions? Yeah? The easy question would be to Google it. But you have to know what to search for. So how I do it every time that I try to learn more about something, and I'm not sure, I start with one word, and then I see what kind of terms they're using in that article. And then I move on from that. What makes sense? And basically it's just a path where you go through a lot of different resources. Of course you have to think about what is the source, are they credible? But there's a lot of good content out there. There's a lot of great blogs. There are some not so great blogs, but there are a lot of good ones. How relevant are they? If you're working with social, you should not read about something that's more than 3 months old if you can get something that's newer, because it might be dated. For example, Facebook have changed their ad manager a lot recently. So I would go for new sources and go for credible sources, and basically just pick the terms that make sense to you and investigate. And maybe just play around in the product and see what don't I understand and look it up, because the information is out there and it's really easy. I wouldn't recommend buying a book about it, but use Google.
What I like about working in social media is the transparency. The industry is all like a gigantic classroom. It's set up for networking, it's set up for sharing information, and you can look at hotels that are doing what you want to be doing and sort of reverse engineer what they've done. Just take a look at it. Figure out their patterns, look at their engagement patterns, look at their style, and figure out what makes sense for you as a company, and then take it from there. Thank you. Anyone else? We're going to say thank you for coming in and starting your week with us in this beautiful area, and I hope you have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you.